everyone. Welcome back to Concept Being, where the intention is well. My name is Jade,
And I'm Aileen.
and we're your hosts for today's episode. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Very exciting news. We have a brand new segment that I created in my head one day. So, here we go. Are you ready? Aileen, are you
Yes,
ready? Are you
let's
stoked?
hear it.
Okay. So, new segment is we're gonna call it fail. We're gonna go I feel like what's your biggest fail? Like I think the name will like solidify itself, but like hashtag fail. What's your biggest fail? And so I'll give y'all a little bit of a back story as to why this is going to be a new segment. And we'll rotate this in with the well-being moment as well as what's the other segment that we have? Oh God.
Or your
Oh, the grateful moment.
yeah.
Thank you.
I
I
was
am
like,
so I'm so grateful that I have you to give me that information. So yes, this will be a third segment. So we'll be rotating this into our episodes. But background. So Jade was on TikTok as she typically is. And basically what ended up happening was I really resonated with one of these TikToks. So I saw this TikTok and this girl was like talking about how her dad would make her come home every day and tell him what her biggest fail of the day was. And she was like, it normalized failing for me, which was really helpful for her because she felt like instead of being ashamed of trying things and failing, she was excited to try things and fail because her dad would like make her come home and be like, okay, what did you fail at today? And he would actually be upset if she didn't fail at something that day. Like if she was just like, oh, I didn't fail at anything. And that's because he would be like, well, that means you didn't try anything new. And so we're adding this segment in to one normalize failing. Like I think it's normal to fail at things and like you tried and you failed, that's okay. But also like kind of like help at least me, I feel like for me personally, like I'm a perfectionist sometimes. And so sometimes I'm afraid to try things because I know I'm not going to be perfect at them the first time. And so it's to kind of help normalize failing as well. So that's the vibes.
So
That's
I
where we're
really
going with.
love that. So I
I'm
feel like a
excited.
lot of people struggle with failure.
Hmm.
So I like that you're trying to normalize it and that it should be talked about more and not seen as something that's bad. I mean, I think we all have to go through failure to grow and learn, and it makes us better.
Agreed. 100% agreed. So, Aileen, do you want to tell me what your biggest fail of? I feel like for this segment, since it's the first one, we can do like our biggest failure like in life or other option. You can do your biggest failure this week. Those are your two options for the segment.
Mm,
Pick your adventure.
I think I want to give a background on how I deal with failure because
Okay.
it's really, and I think it's actually going to lead into the main segment we have today.
Ooh,
Is
stunning. Okay.
I to me it's so hard to fail. I think as a like as a child, I felt like I was a failure in some way, right? Because growing up, I would always hear people talk about like me and comparing me to other people. And I always felt like I wasn't good enough and I was a failure. So I remember like even since a child, I always wanted to be perfect, right? And to make people proud and all this stuff, right? So for me, it was very, very difficult to it's hard for me to fail, right? Even to this day, like I want to be a perfectionist as well. So even before work, like I'll research things before I have to do something. I'm not just going to go out there and do it, right? because I can't fail. I feel like it's my weak. But in the recent, let's say 2 years maybe, this is something that I'm trying to normalize for myself because I think it helps us grow, right? When we make a mistake and we fail at something, either get back up and try again, right? Or you learn something so important while you're doing it, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's so important to do it because if we don't, we'll never advance, right? We have to try new things. We have to get put ourselves out there, even if it's uncomfortable. Because, and I think a lot of people, including myself, right? It kind of stops me because I don't want to fail. But there's so many people that they fail and they fail and they fail and they try again. And now they're so successful in their business and so right, that I think it's amazing, and failure should be normalized and it should be encouraged. It's going to help us move on and become better. What about you, Jade?
Okay. So I fully agree with you. I think if you fail, you definitely like you learn something from it. Like it's a growing point. And so I will give y'all an example. I'll give you a very specific example because this is the vibes. But I have failed. I also hate failing. I will not lie to you. I don't like failing. It's just not like cute and it's not normalized. And this is the point of the segment is to like get over feeling like a failure when you fail. Like there should not be shame with failure. Like it should feel like congratulations, you tried something. Sure,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't work out, but like at least you tried something. There should be that. So I have failed like miserably. When I say like tragically at YouTube. And I was on YouTube before. I did my little YouTube stunt. I feel like it was like 2017, 2018, and it just didn't stick. There was nothing really wrong with what I was doing on YouTube. It just like it didn't feel right. And I just like let it like kind of like, go away just a little bit. And so I feel like I failed a little bit at YouTube, which was upsetting because everyone I felt like was like cheering for me. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, Jade, like we're watching your YouTube channel. It's so great." And I hated what like the content that I was creating. I didn't hate it, but I wasn't really connecting with it. And so naturally, I just like let it, excuse me, I just like let it like kind of fade away a little bit. And so with that, like I kind of felt like a failure because I felt like my entire family and like my friends were like cheering for me and I just like kind of failed at being on YouTube. And now I am going to be back on YouTube with Aileen because we're going to be recording these episodes for YouTube as well, like for visuals. And so I will say I was on YouTube for a little bit, but I did learn something being on YouTube. So it wasn't a complete failure. I learned about editing. I learned about talking to a camera. I learned about like creating engaging content. And I've used that outside of YouTube. So I feel like being on YouTube was very helpful for my professional life where I do have to give presentations and stuff and do public speaking and I create like engaging presentations, but it's also been very helpful for creating this podcast. So like I am able to edit this podcast and I know how to like, split things in half and, like I'm still learning, but I know that the reason why I felt comfortable jumping into being the editor of this podcast was because I had previous experience on YouTube. And so my failure, while it did feel like a miserable fail, I got so many things from it. Like it's still a win. And so that's my failure story. And
That's awesome though, because I feel like I remember like when you were doing that, like back in the
mhm.
day, and
It was
everyone was
cute.
so it was, and I couldn't edit the stuff. I don't know the first step, right? And I'm always like running around doing other things. Like I don't have time to sit down and do it. And
mhm.
because you did that, I think you gained so much more out of it, even though you look at it as a failure. You've gained so much, and it's
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think about it all the time. I'm like, yes, in that maybe like 2 years ago, I really thought it was a failure, but I could recognize it now as like, Jade, that wasn't what fit you, and that's fine, but look at what you got from it. It wasn't a waste of time because you did got get something from it. And that's the way that I try to live my life, is like it wasn't a waste of time as long as you learned something. And I feel like I learned that from one of my coworkers. She like gave me that message and it always stuck with me, where she was like, I felt like I was wasting my time with something. She was like, it's only a waste of time if you didn't learn anything from it. So that that's our failure segment. That's our new segment. I'm excited because I be failing a lot and I feel like I feel so bad about it. So like let's make it like let's spin it into a positive, and I hope that it helps other people like want to try things and not feel so like in a box about failing. Like failing's fine. It Failing means that you tried. Like
and I
not a
love
lot of people
that.
are trying. Yeah, I'm excited.
Me
So,
too. I like this
ah,
new segment.
shout out to TikTok. Listen, TikTok ain't never steered me wrong except for a couple times, but that's fine. Anyways, now are you ready to transition into our grander segment of the night?
Yes.
Okay, so I will give a bit of an introduction. So we're still in our spirituality segment. And so for this episode, we're gonna be talking about forgiveness, which is exciting. And we're probably touch on like surrender as well. But I do want to talk about forgiveness. And I want to hear Aileen. Aileen, I'm like, I really want to hear first, how do you feel about forgiveness? Are you good at forgiving people or like forgiving in situations and stuff? Like what's your vibe?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Is that surprising to you?
Yes, for some like I really in my head like I walked into this episode and I was like, Aileen's gonna drag me tonight because she's gonna be like, I am all forgiving and people make mistakes and I understand it and I move forward. So the fact that you're like, no, makes me feel so much better for the way that I'm about to unload what I have in my heart. So why do you
You've been
feel
like hyping this up. Like, I really want to hear what you have to say because I have
okay?
no idea.
Okay, so my vibe for forgiveness. I'm not good at forgiving people. I'm not a very forgiving person, to be honest with you. I really feel like once you do something or like once something happens, I'm hard pressed to forgive you. Like if you do something that like upsets me, you have an enemy for the rest of your life. Like, I'm not even lying to you. And I fully realize that this is not like a beautiful like trait that I have. Like, it's not cute, but something in me like holds on to what happened. Like, I can't let it go. And like, it fuels me. Like, I know I'm like 5'2". I realize that, but I swear like half of me is fueled by rage. Like, I don't know what that is, but I tend to hold on to things a lot, and I
Hmm.
know that, like, you're supposed to let things go because, like, what is that serving? But, like, I hold on to it, and to be completely honest with you, sometimes it is helpful to be able to tap into that rage of not forgiving someone and being like, "I'm so mad that they did that. Let me prove you wrong," type of situation. And so, if if you do something, I hate you for the rest of your life, and I might be the person to get you
Okay.
audited by the IRS. That's just the facts. That's the truth. I'm sorry. Like, I'm working on it. I realize that I'm holding space for people that probably aren't holding space for me, but that's just where I am in life right now. And I feel like that's the point of this podcast, to be able to work through it. So, honestly, no, I'm not good at forgiving people. Like, even if I love you with all of my heart, I've been mad at people that I like love with all of my heart, and it takes me like months to get over it because I'm just like, I can't believe that you would do that. And I know that like it speaks more onto them versus me, but something in me just cannot let that slide. Like I don't know, whatever they did to me, like I just can't let it slide. I have grudges from like 10 years ago. Like I can't let it slide. To this day. To this day. I can't let it go. I don't know. So that is my vibe with forgiveness. I know that I would be light as a feather if I let all of these things go that I'm holding on to. Like, I feel like that would be honestly for my well being to like let things go,
Mhm.
but I can't. I don't know. Like, I
You
probably
can, you
can.
can. Let
I
me tell
can.
you.
Tell me how do I let it go, Aileen? How do you let things go when you forgive people?
Listen, I was just like you, okay? And I still am, okay?
Okay.
If someone does something, it I would have to say I'm a pretty mellow person,
Mhm.
but once you hit that trigger mark, I like I just get so mad and I just like can't forgive them. The further one back and tell you how I evolved, okay? So, when I was working, I worked with my best friend. And, you know, your best friends are there, but when you go to them and you tell them something confidential, you expect them to not say anything, right?
Mhm.
So I felt, and my biggest thing is like, is trust. Once you break trust, forget it. We are not friends, right?
Period. Yeah.
And so what happened was I had heard that they were going to get a promotion. So me as their friend was like, hey, don't say anything, but you're going to get a promotion. And they said, I'll believe it when it happens, whatever. Right. I said, okay. We left it as that. And my thing was, don't tell anybody. Right.
Mhm.
So when their boss told them, hey, congratulations, we're going to give you a promotion, they were like, already knew. And they're like, what? Like, who told you? And she's like, someone from this team. The whole freaking department knew we were friends, right? Even though we were
Mhm.
on different teams, we still reported in the same structure and they knew obviously it was me. And I was sitting there and then I get a call from another coworker. And this is what pissed me off, honestly, is this person did not tell me that all this was happening. My best friend, right? I get it. We all make mistakes, right? I may blab when I shouldn't, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. But this person, this happened at work, right? O'clock at night, I get a call from another coworker. Says, "Hey, I just got a call from our boss, and she just got called out by the director, and like all this is happening. Did you tell somebody that they were going to get a promotion?" I was like, "Oh shit!" Right? I was like, "I'm in trouble." It was me, right? And I was like, "Oh my god!" So I called the person. The person did not answer the phone. Then the person calls me back and was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I was so panicked and I didn't want to, like, had to take a shower and I didn't know how to tell you." And I was like, honestly, if we're best friends, you should be able to come to me with anything, right?
Mhm.
It is what it is. You made a mistake, right? So for me, I was so upset, right? I went from talking to this person like every single day to I can't trust this person. You've now made my work life miserable, right? Because my boss was crazy. Like she was on the hunt to find out who did it, right?
Mhm.
And I was just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. This is crazy, right? And so I was just like, first of all, your boss asked you if it's okay if she took it to the director. You should have said no, right?
That's
But I
crazy.
understand,
Yeah.
right? Would you
Mhm.
be pissed? I don't know.
I
I
mean,
was livid.
I would have been upset, but there's also like, I don't know, in
But you
my
knew who my
head,
boss was at the time.
oh, 100%. I 100% know, but there's also like I find it interesting that like if someone like I can only base things off of like how I would react. So like
Right.
if my friend was like, "Oh, Jade, you're gonna get a promotion," I'd be like, "Oh, bet." And so like when my boss told me, "Oh, Jade, you're gonna get a promotion," I would not be like, "Oh, I know."
Right?
Like I
Wouldn't you
would at
say,
least
"Oh, wow, thank you,
no,
congrats,"
and
like, "I'm
I
so
want to let everyone know I am the worst liar ever. Like ever. Like if I'm lying, there's like a 99% chance that you're going to know within the next 10 minutes that I just lied. And so, but I would do my best. And everyone knows, like, I feel like everyone that I'm close with knows that I'm a bad liar, but I would do my best. Nothing in my heart would be like, "Oh, I know." My reaction might be like, "Oh my God, wow, that's crazy." And you would be like, "She knew." But I wouldn't come out and be like, "Oh, I knew." That's crazy. That's actually really
yeah.
wild.
So then, like, the next couple of months were miserable, and I was like, "I gotta leave the company, like, I don't wanna deal," you know what I mean? Because it
Mhm.
goes to me trying to be perfect all the time. And this was a moment that I was not, right? Because I had told my best friend something in confidence, and now the whole department knew that I did it, right? And so I was like, "Oh my god." And I was like, "I gotta find a new job, like, I don't wanna work here anymore, it's so uncomfortable." And, like, I just could not forgive my friend. From talking to her every day to I think I went a little over a month without talking to her.
Dang.
And like, I was just so angry and, like, upset, and I just couldn't get over it, and I couldn't believe that, like, she would do that, you know? And I was
Mhm.
like, "What the," like, and I remember, like, my cousin is, like, one of my best friends, and I went to her and I was like, "Listen, this is what happened, and, like, can't get over it." And she put it in, like, such simple terms. She says, "Listen," right? And she said, "You can either, like, decide if you want this person in your life in the future or not. If you decide no, then don't forgive her. It's fine. Whatever. If you decide that, yes, you want this person in your life in the future, then you need to have a conversation and clear the air about it, right?" And I was like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, for sure." And at that time, I was like, "Yeah, you're right." And so I remember, I don't know who reached out, whatever. We ended up talking about it. And I told her, like, I was just, like, really upset that ultimately you just didn't give me the heads up, right? Like, I
Yeah.
wish once you had done that, the moment you walked out of her office, said, "Hey, Aileen, give me a call, right? I have something to tell you." But the whole fact that you kept it a secret, other people before, and I was like, "What is going on?" Right? And I'm like, in a workplace, I'm like, I want to fly under the radar. I don't want to be noticed. I just want to, like, do a good job and leave, right? I don't want the drama. And so all of a sudden I was part of it. And then, but I'll tell you, like, even to this day, I still can't trust her because of that one thing. Like, I just can't, like, I've forgiven her, but I cannot trust her,
How
right?
did you forgive her?
Well, at that moment, it was my cousin telling me, "Do you want her in your life or do you not?" Right?
Mhm.
And this is before, like, I really got into, like, spirituality and learning about, like, that sort of thing. So for me, it was that simple question, right? And I was like, "Well, I gotta get over this if I want her in my life." And that was it. But
But how
now let
did
me
you get over it? Like how like what was like were you just like, "Okay, I need to let this go
yeah.
because I love her and I want her to be in my life. So I'm going to like take the high road on this one."
Yeah, that was it at that time. And now I do it differently, right?
Okay.
So now this is another situation that I had. I have too many of these situations. Like, um, I was working for a company and we had gone through this whole transition. And there was this guy that was going to be my new boss once we transitioned out. And he was based in another country. And, like, he didn't really understand. Like, he was telling me that the company had to do, like, an inspection on a quarterly basis when it's only required, like, biannually. And I was like, why are we doing this? Like, are you going to tell the site that they have to spend more money because you this way? Like, I don't want to deal with that, right? I don't want to be in the fight with them if that's not necessary. Why are we doing that, right?
Mhm.
And like, he just like, we couldn't connect. We didn't like, we always disagreed. And then I later on found out that he was telling one of my peers that like I didn't know what I was talking about, and like I'm confused and like all this stuff. And I was like, okay, sir, like you're confused with the regulations in America. So sit down, right?
Mhm.
But I was so mad, Jade. Like every time I like did not want to have a one-on-one with him, like it got to the point that like I would tell the site directors, like I would show them the freaking emails. Like I was like, I can't. And I would like at that time, like I'd be like, hi, blah, blah, blah. Like, I disagree. I think it should be this, this, and this. Like we would just like, I don't know. We just did not get along. We did not agree on certain things. And I was like, this is wild. So I remember at the time I was going through these spirituality classes and I was just so angry at him. And I realized like it was draining me from work. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to deal with him. I didn't want to think about him. And it's just like, and I was already pissed because he's now like, how does a freaking director talk about someone at a lower level to their peers that, first of all, you just met us. You don't know if we're friends or not. And you're out here telling this other girl stuff and she's coming back and telling me stuff about what you're saying about me. Like, be a professional, dude. And so he was like, so I was just angry, right? I didn't like him. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to deal with him. And I was pissed that he was like talking about me to other people. And one of the techniques, and it sounds crazy, but I swear it works.
No, because your techniques be giving, so give it to us. I wanna hear it. Put me on.
So what I do now is when I'm really upset at somebody, and it takes a few tries. It's not the first time that you do it, right? Until
Mhm.
I think you get good at it, right? But similar, remember how we talked about manifesting, right?
Yes.
Gotta like let it, you gotta release it, right? So what I do is I send the person love. Don't, like you're laughing, but I swear it works.
You know
So
what?
you're gonna
Okay.
watch, and then in like a few months, you're gonna be like, Aileen, you were right. Just
Okay, keep
watch,
going,
Jade.
keep going. I'm listening, I'm listening, I'm listening. Go ahead.
So it's like they're like you don't want to send them bad like energy or anything, right? Because that shit comes back to you. You don't want that.
Okay, we
Trust
live
me.
different lives. Okay, keep going. Yeah.
So honestly, Jade, just pick someone that you need to forgive, okay? And
Ah.
just try it later on. Okay? So I remember like I would like take 3 deep breaths.
Mhm.
I would imagine this guy's face, and it was just like I was full of anger and like I was upset. And I said, "You know what, God and all the angels, just send him love." And I would just like in like the feeling of love, like you kind of just warm and fuzzies and all that. My God. And I would think of that. I would sit there and I would like relax, make myself feel like happy and like cozy and like that little warm and fuzzy feel. And then I would just say, okay, send it their way, right? I'm sending love their way. Why? Because love is going to come back to me that way, right? And then I think it honestly, like it sounds crazy. Like I remember when someone taught me this technique, I was like, they're freaking crazy. Like the person stopped bothering me, okay? The person got let go from the company.
Oh, okay. Well,
And I
that
was
worked
like,
out.
what the heck? And I was like, this is so crazy. But it was like we were still working together for a while, but he stopped bothering me. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna let them affect me, right? So I'm gonna say, you know what, God? Like, yes, I'm upset. Yes, like I I'm not a, like I'm so I'm stubborn too. Like I it takes me so long to forgive someone. And this technique, honestly, it has helped so much. Like I get upset and I just like I said, take 3 deep breaths and I feel the feeling of like love and I just say, "You know what, God and all the angels, I'm sending love their way." And
Ugh.
then you have to let it go. And at
Ooh,
first it's hard, babes.
Aileen, it's just it's a lot. It's a
It
lot, ain't
it
it? Because
is.
it directly contradicts what I stand by, which is I don't like when I get older, like I picture myself like 99 years old, still hot, but 99 years old and just like chilling, and I imagine being a person of influence and someone's like, what are you happy that you did in your life? And then my answer is going to be telling the right amount of people to go straight to hell. Like, I don't want to regret not telling enough people to go to hell, like, or to fuck right on off, because I really feel like sometimes people deserve the smoke. I feel like people deserve the smoke, and like, I can't be letting people slide like that. Like,
I
and
feel
so,
like you
like,
can still do that though,
me
right?
sending them love directly contradicts me telling them to go straight to hell. It really does. It really like I'm sending you love, but also go straight to hell and dance with the demons because that's where you deserve. Like that's where you deserve to be. So this like idea of sending love to the person,
I think when you're ready, you're going to do it. Like someone,
obviously
listen,
I'm not
you
there
can
yet.
still be 99 years old,
Uh
right? You
huh.
can go to the grocery store and the
Still
lady in
hot.
front of
Yeah.
you, yeah, of
Mm-hmm.
course, you're always going to be hot, Jade.
Yeah.
You can
Thank
go to
you.
the grocery store, shopping at Trader Joe's, wherever you're shopping at
Per.
99 years old, and someone could cut you in line. And guess what? You can still say, go to hell. Okay. You're not going to cut me in line, whatever, and do whatever the hell you want to do, right? But right now, right? Like I just got to get over it, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
was just taking so much away. I just wasn't happy. I wasn't content, and that would always like kind of drift into like my head. And then at that point, like I was like, you know what, God, send them love, and that's it, right? And then honestly, like I would forget about them. Like I would go on with my life, and I felt lighter and happier. Like I wasn't constantly thinking about how angry I was, right?
Yeah.
And like just just try it a few times. Let me know in the future
You know
how
what?
it goes.
I'm going to try it because I will say I fully agree with you where it feels like you're holding on to this and you do feel heavier for holding on to it versus like if you let it go, it does feel lighter. And that is like a thing. Like with forgiveness, it does reduce stress because you're not
Right.
holding on to that like angry energy, or you're not plotting on their demise, or like you're not calling the IRS to specifically getting them like audited. So like there is that like free time and that like that space in your heart that isn't filled with hate. um
But I
Although
also
me
think
personally,
though,
I do reserve a little bit of space in my heart to like, yeah, sometimes I don't know, people. You know what? Let me stop being a hater. You know what? I'm gonna try it, Aileen. I'm gonna take 3 deep breaths and I'm gonna send people love. I'm still gonna tell them to go to hell, but I will send them love afterwards. And like, I told you to go to hell, but I wish you love and light. For real.
yes.
Because only, not because I really wish them love and light, but only because I know it's gonna benefit me to forgive the person. But I will say it does take me a lot. It takes a lot for me to get upset and for me to like be angry with a person or something like that. And so like if a person did something or a situation upset me, like it really did push me to the edge. And
Hmm.
for the most part, like if I'm there, like it's really difficult for me to come back. And so it is something that I do need to work on because holding that energy, it's really not good for my well-being. But I will say again, like the rage, it really fuels me because if I don't like the person that I'm working with, I will simply change jobs. And it's always a come up for me. And so like the idea of like, oh, you need to forgive people. I'm like, no, really, I'll just like leave and like do better. And you could see me doing better. And so
But
really
you
it's
can
kind of
still do that though.
beneficial. I can, but like there's a certain amount of like, I don't know, it just does something for me. I feel like I don't know.
You
I
can let it
don't know.
spark it in you,
Yeah.
but I think at some point, right, you need to be able to say, okay, this person, I'm so pissed off, right? Because I feel like, I don't know for you, but for me, when I'm so angry, it like takes over. Like I'm thinking about it, I'm in a bad mood, like, and all this stuff. And like, once you can master this and be like, you know what, I'm going to send them love. Yes, I'm upset, but you know what, I'm sending them love. God, send them all the love, surround them with love and light. And just like, okay. And the weird thing is, like, you just feel lighter. You're not feeling like this person, they don't freaking care. They're
They
not thinking
don't.
about you.
They don't.
So
They really
why
don't.
why are you thinking about them? So what you can do is, you know what? Whatever you put out there comes back to you, you know? So put love, light energy out there, and it's going to come back to you, and I swear it it really works. Got to try it. But ever since then, like, because you get like annoyed, like annoying situations and stuff. Like, even my boss right now is difficult, right? And I'm like, like, some days he just really pisses me off and we fight, and then other days we're fine. And I think he's like a really intelligent, nice guy, but it pisses me off sometimes a lot. And I literally have to sit there at my desk and I'm like, okay, and like relax. It's fine, get over it.
See, you
And
better
then,
than me. My boss obsessed me. I'm on LinkedIn looking for new jobs immediately. Immediately,
oh,
expeditiously. Okay.
I
Yeah, run it.
100% like apply to jobs too, but then also like I have to have the right feeling for a job. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
I just won't take it, right? So I
Agreed.
think try this technique, let me know in the future. But I think this also kind of segues into our other thing, right? Is what we kind of wanted to talk about is surrendering, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because at this point, like, I feel like it ties in so closely with forgiveness in this, right? Is, yeah, sometimes we want to hurt, like, get back at them, be like, what the heck? Like, I'm gonna get you, right? Or like you said, call an IRS to get them out of there, whatever, right?
That might be a bit extreme. I realize that now, but I'm so serious. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah. So if that were to happen, right? And let God handle it sometimes. In every situation in our life, we're not gonna be able to control. And I think we're also similar in this. Me and you are perfectionists. We want everything to be perfect. We want to be able to control every situation.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, that's not possible in the world we live in. Like, we're honestly like getting lessons and all the stuff to try and grow and improve ourselves every aspect of our lives, right? And I think for me, the biggest thing that has helped me, because before I would just be like, oh, like, I don't want to do this or this, or upset this person, or do that, or do, like, you know what I mean? You're just kind of anxious and like, I don't know what to do. And helped me throughout this whole thing is surrendering and learning how to do it, because you just like don't have that heavy weight on you anymore. I'm not like, I don't go into a situation anymore thinking like, oh crap, like I'm gonna fail at this, or like I do get nervous, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do also like surrender, because I know whatever's gonna happen is meant to be, right? And I remember like, and this has helped me so much, Jade. Like, I'll go out there and I'm just like, you know what, God, like, I don't know why I just always have to take 3 deep breaths, right? Especially in a situation that I'm nervous about, whatever. And I'm just like, you know what, God, I know it's in your hands. Whatever is meant to be will happen, right? And it just like has relieved like anger, anxiety, all of that. I know whether it's a bad situation, a good situation, I'm supposed to go through it. right? And I think we all get caught up in stuff. Like, I remember when I was living up in or near San Francisco, I went to lunch and I really wanted Starbucks and I wanted a that's all I wanted, right? Seems like a nice thing. I was like, I'm gonna run to Starbucks, get a nice latte, come back, finish out the day, right? Just wanted coffee. I got this. It was a Tesla. I was driving, and so there's two lanes on either side, and there's a center divider. So I'm driving, and a Tesla starts to come into my lane, and so I felt like I needed, instead of letting them hit me, I thought there's a break in the intersection that I could kind of swerve fast enough and be fine. But what happened is they started to come over into my lane and then quickly went back, and I hit the center divider with like and then
Mhm.
I ended up on the other side of the street going the opposite way.
Ooh.
And there was like, that street was really busy, and I was like, holy cow. So at the moment, like, you have an adrenaline rush, and there's like a church next door. And so I like quickly, when the next like portion of the intersection I could get over, I went over and then pulled into the church parking lot, but my car was damaged. I couldn't drive it to work anymore. So I remember, like, I was up there alone. Like, I didn't have like, my family was all in Southern California. Like, I had nobody up there. So I remember calling my coworker from work, and I was like, "Oh my God, like, I just got into, you come and like just pick me up. I'll deal with the car later. I need to get back to work." She's like, "Yeah, where are you? Like, what happened?" And so she came, and I'm so grateful to her. Like, I don't know, like, her and her wife were like my little family up there. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, because they like, then they took me, and waited till the tow truck got there and everything, right? They're amazing. But I remember I got back, and my boss came into my office, and like, I told him, I'm going to leave a little bit early. Like, I got to go get my car towed and all the stuff because I got into an accident. He's like, when? I was like, at lunch. And he's like, are you serious? What are you doing here? Like, I would be
Right.
so upset. Like, what do you know? And he's like, what? Like, I don't understand. Like, why are you here? And I was like, it's fine. And he's like, what do you mean it's fine? And like, I had told the situation. I said, listen, like, honestly, I'm grateful that I'm okay. The other driver's okay. A little messed up, but guess what? I have insurance. It's going to be fixed. Not a big deal, right? And in that moment, like, I had realized that all this time I was working on surrendering, right? I had realized that the way I had reacted, right? I wasn't mad at the lady, right? She drove away. And I was like, okay, whatever, it is what it is, right? I was safe. I got lucky because I was going the opposite way on oncoming traffic and nobody was there. Like, if there was other traffic, it would have been like they would have hit my car and T-boned me. And like, my boss was looking at me like I was crazy, and I was like, "There's nothing I could do. I can't be mad." Like, and I said, honestly, it was just meant to be. And guess what? I'm going to learn something from it, right? And that's the biggest thing, is the bad things that happen, take them as lessons. And instead of saying like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? Say, what am I supposed to learn from this situation?
Ooh, 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 or this is happening for me. Ooh, that's
Yes.
always a fun perspective as well.
Yeah. And I think it, honestly, it has brought so much peace to me now, because no matter, like, I don't know, something could happen, right? Like, and maybe it was that delay. I don't know. Maybe I would meet the love of my life, or maybe, I don't know, I could, and something would have happened, right? Who knows? But I think the situations we're put in are either protecting us from something, right? Like, I've heard so many stories. Like, you're talking about TikTok earlier. I saw TikTok, and he was born on 9/11, in 2001. Because he was born, his dad did not go to work in the Twin Towers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Those stories are
saved his
always
dad.
interesting. Yeah,
Right,
those stories are always like, "Oh, I was supposed to be here on 9/11, but like I missed my train, you know?" Or like, "But I had to take my child to school and like I don't know, there was a car crash or something, and so I wasn't able to make it to work, and because of that, I wasn't at work during 9/11. And
right.
so you kind of have to, and I always think of that, like, I do think of that as like, "Oh, maybe I wasn't supposed to go." And for some reason, whenever I do push myself to do things, I'm like, "You shouldn't have done that." Like, something in me, like, I'm like, "Oh, I really don't wanna do this." And then I'll do it anyway. I'm like, "That was terrible. You shouldn't have done that anyway. Like, look at you. You should've just went with your gut."
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's I guess going with your gut versus, like, surrendering is kind of similar where it's like you just trust that that's what you're supposed to be doing, and, like,
Right.
that that's the right way. So, yeah,
Yes.
I agree. I think it depends. Sometimes it's hard for me. I will not lie. Sometimes it's hard for me to like let go of control and be like I will push. Like I will really push, but I always have to remind myself, and I always like think back of like, okay, Jade, in the past, every time that you've pushed yourself, it's not turned out great. Things turn out great when it comes easy to you. And so you're all up in the universe's business. You don't need to be doing all that. Sit back. Like
Right,
you need
right,
to calm down and surrender to this situation because whatever is gonna happen, you can't plan it out. Like whatever is supposed to happen is supposed to happen.
right.
And let that be fine. But that's the way I feel about surrendering. I just need to
And I
understand
think
sometimes that
also when you're
yeah,
in an upsetting situation, right? Don't be so upset about it, right? Because I think I used to get angry and like, what the F? Like, And I think that's something else. Like, I'm like, okay.
is like I feel like I learned so much from just having a conversation with you, even though we're like podcasting, I feel like we're just like chatting. So I always learn something from our podcast. So I will take the 3 deep breaths. Lately, no, actually, I'm not gonna tell you because I'm gonna save that for our well-being moment. But I'm gonna try and keep it cool. We're gonna take 3 deep breaths, and we'll see how far it gets us.
Okay,
That's
I'm gonna follow up with you in a few weeks. Okay.
no, please do. And I feel like my therapist will be so happy that I add this into my toolbox, my coping toolbox, because at this point I'm stacked. Okay. It's looking like Home Depot. Okay. So yeah. But to wrap things up, Aileen, do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
I think everyone, when you get into a frustrating situation, right, just surrender and just know it's meant to be hard, but keep at it, right? And keep practicing it. And especially when someone upsets you and you just like can't stand the person, right? And it like I told Jade earlier, like it it might not be the first time, the second time, but just practice sending love. And the first time you're gonna be like, I hate this person so much, I don't want to send them love, whatever. But as you get into the practice of doing it, like you will just feel so much better and so much lighter. And it's just have practice at it. And I hope this helps.
Beautiful, truly, honestly, stunning. So we will end things on that note. I will say, if y'all have ever gotten anyone audited by the IRS, do send us send us an email because I would love to hear that story. So you can send us an email at conceptwellbeing@gmail.com. We would love to hear your story. We are open to hearing your story. I think it would be so interesting to read listener letters on our podcast. So that is open for
Yes.
y'all if y'all want to, share your stories or even how you've forgiven people that you feel like really didn't deserve it, but you forgave them for you and not for them. That I think would also be beautiful to hear. But Thank y'all so much for listening. We appreciate you. And we hope that you have a good day or night. And we hope that you are well. Bye.